Okay, so the next section could be maybe a little bit more interesting to our viewers, where you talk about demons and or evil or unclean spirits. You mentioned the fallen sons of God and some other demonic entities. I would just say you can take 5 minutes, you can take 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. What do you think is important for our audience that you want to talk about, these two orders?
Yeah. So, I would say that I think that a lot of Christians think that demons are the high guys on the pecking order. And I think that whenever we look at the Bible, they are different than the fallen angels, is what I would say. They're of a different nature, is what I would say. They have a different origin, is what I would say. And so I think that the Bible teaches us, and I think that it's very clear in the literature of the Second Temple period, and in parallel stories from the ancient Near East, that these beings are well, let's just use the language the Bible uses. They are the product of the sons of God coming down into the daughters of men and taking them to be wives. And they are connected with the giants, with the Nephilim. Also, names that they have ascribed to them as the Nephilim, the Anakim, and then the Rephaim, as the Hebrew Bible kind of goes along. They are from the departed. They are the disembodied spirits of the departed giants, is basically what they are. And I know we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about here, so I won't spend a ton of time on this because we've got a lot to cover. But that's used. That's seen all throughout the the Second Temple period. One of the things that I will talk about here, just kind of briefly, is just so you can kind of take this thread and kind of trace it. I will talk about the Rephaim. So the term Rephaim is used 25 times in the Hebrew Bible. It's found in Deuteronomy 2, 9 through 11. There we encounter a narrative about the Israelites' journey through the desert. At that time, the Lord instructs Moses to not antagonize the Moabites. And so the text says this: "The Lord said to me, do not harass Moab, nor provoke them to war, for I will not give you any of their land as a possession, because I have given Air to the sons of Lot as a possession. The Emim lived there formerly as a people of great and numerous, as tall as the Anakim. Like the Anakim, they are also regarded as Rephaim, but the Moabites call them Emim." So here in this passage and in others, the Rephaim, or the Emim, as they're called by the Moabites, were as great and as tall as the Anakim. And so, whenever we look at Scripture, in the story of Scripture, we see all kinds of stories there. One of them in particular. Oh, my dogs are barking. I don't know if you can hear them in the background here. I think that somebody's about to come through my door here. Probably my wife. But anyway, whenever we look at Scripture, we see, for example, like the stories of Og of Bashan, right? In Deuteronomy 1 through 11, he's described as this giant warrior king. And, it talks about him having this bed of, that's this huge bed, right? It says that he has a bedstead of iron, and it's 9 cubits in length and 4 cubits in its width, according to the cubit of a man. And so the Rephaim are connected to the giants. Now, another interesting thing about the Rephaim is the linguistic use, the way that it's used in other places. So whenever we see the term Rephaim used in other places, especially okay, we'll look at ancient Ugarit. The Rephaim are depicted as dead warrior kings who inhabit the underworld. Okay. This also has a connection point with the Bible. So whenever the Bible speaks of the Rephaim, it speaks of them not only as giants, but as dead warrior kings who inhabit the underworld. And so some of the language that's used to describe them in the Bible are stuff like the dead, departed spirits or the shades. So, for example, David in Psalm 88, 9 through 13 says, "My eyes languish for misery. I call on you, O Yahweh. Every day I spread out my hands to you. Do you work wonders for the dead? Or do the departed spirits, Rephaim, rise up to praise you? Selah, is your loyal love told in the grave, or your faithfulness in the underworld?" So the departed spirits, the Rephaim, are associated and they're put in parallel with the underworld. Now, there's some more too, like Isaiah. So Isaiah uses Rephaim in Isaiah 14:9 and 26:14. And so he states this: Sheol below is getting excited over you to meet you when you come. It arouses the dead spirits, or the Rephaim, for you. All of the leaders of the earth. It raises all of the kings of the nations from their thrones. So here, Rephaim is put in parallel with dead spirits of kings in the underworld. So it's used that way in ancient Ugarit, and it's also used this way in the Bible as well. So to kind of just build up a portrait of meaning here, we have Rephaim being a synonym for Anakim, and Anakim being a synonym for Nephilim. And it's not only a synonym for that, but it's also used to describe the shades or the departed spirits of warrior kings from the nations who reside in the underworld. So this is the idea. This is basically where the idea of unclean spirit comes from in the New Testament. It is a spirit that is unclean. Why is it unclean? Well, it's not unclean because it forgot to take a shower. It's unclean. It's unclean because it comes from a unholy union between spiritual beings and human daughters, the daughters of men. It's a forbidden union. And Jude talks about their angels coming from leaving their proper habitation to seek after strange flesh. And he compares it, he uses it in parallel with Sodom and Gomorrah, like that kind of sexual licentiousness. So that's why it's unclean. That's why they're the unclean spirits. The spirits of the giants, and the giants are the products of unclean unions. So that's demons. That's a very short overview of that chapter. If you want more, you can check out the book and get some of that there.